If you're looking for a unique and interesting piece of gear to add to your creative arsenal, well, I might just have the right thing for you here. This is Moog's Spectravox, and I have to say, it's one of the most intriguing synths I've had on my bench in a second. Spectravox is a mono semi-modular analog synthesizer with one defining characteristic. Instead of having one filter, it has 20 organized in 2 banks, which allow for really interesting and fun spectral manipulations. Spectravox is also a sound processor that can be used to process and manipulate any external audio source and instrument, as well as a vocoder that can use either its own internal synth engine or external carriers, making it possible to turn it into a full-on polyvocoder, a melodic drum machine, and more. Let's hear it. The first time we got a glimpse of Spectravox was in 2019 when Moog offered the possibility to build a limited series edition of the unit at Moog Fest Engineering Workshop. The mass production version just announced by Moog brings back all the key features of the original except for the filter faders, which have been replaced with knobs, allowing in turn for the addition of a 20 patch point patch bay that expands the modular capabilities of Spectravox by letting you modulate each of the filters independently or use the filter's envelope followers to control other modules. Spectravox can be used on its own, easily integrates with any Eurorack modular setup, and of course plays well with its 3 older siblings, the DFAM, the Subharmonicon, and the Mother 32. Let's begin by taking a look at the Spectravox synth engine, which is pretty simple and straightforward. Spectravox features one voltage controlled oscillator that can produce a sawtooth, or a pulse wave with variable pulse width, and the carrier mix knob lets you introduce white noise to the signal. The pitch can be controlled with the VCO frequency knob. But Spectravox can also be played chromatically with a CV-enabled controller if you want to use it as a monosynth, or use an external sequencer. Spectravox features two VCA modes, on, which will just play a tone freely, or EG, which will pass the signal through the fixed envelope generator with variable decay, and you can also use the program input to trigger the envelope generator by flipping this switch on. The filter bank is the star of the show here and what really sets Spectravox apart from other synths and gives it its unique sound. As I mentioned earlier, Spectravox features 20 filters divided in two banks of 10 filters each. The synthesis filter bank and the analysis filter bank, which we'll get back to a bit later. The synthesis filter can be used to shape and modulate either the VCO or external audio sources through the Spectravox carrier inputs. And each filter features two patch points, allowing for each of them to modulate or be modulated independently, either by using Spectravox's internal patch point or external modular gear. The synthesis filter bank features a total of 10 filters, including a low-pass filter all the way to the left, eight bandpass filters spread across the frequency band, and a high-pass filter all the way to the right. Bands 9 and 10 can be switched from buzz to hiss, adding white noise to the signal, which can be used for texturing in filter bank mode. And to help intelligibility in vocoder mode, but more on that a bit later. The filter bank is a great way to sculpt sounds, but it's the spectral shift knob that really brings the filters to life and give the Spectravox its signature tone. Just listen to what happens when I turn it. You can hear it shift all the filters at the same time, creating this really nice shift in tone. Spectravox also features an LFO hardwired to modulate the spectral shift with rate and amount controls, and the LFO can of course also be wired to control other parameters via the patch points. This is also where using Spectravox as part of a larger modular setup can really pay off. For instance, with more LFOs, I could modulate each filter independently to create intricate, complex filtering effects. Now let's take a look at the vocoder capabilities of Spectravox. Earlier on, I mentioned that the unit features a second filter bank labeled the Analysis Bank. And as the name suggests, this bank uses filters placed at specific spots on the frequency band to analyze the program input's performance, aka your voice or any other audio source, and sends that information to the synthesis filter bank to modulate the carrier's signal. In other words, you can make your synth sing. You can also create unique shapes using the format of acoustic instruments, for instance, or create really interesting melodic drum sounds. To use Spectravox as a vocoder, you'll need to switch it to vocoder mode and plug a dynamic microphone in the program input connector. Spectravox offers a fair amount of gain, which you can adjust using the gain level knob. To get you started, Moog included a cutout patch sheet with basic vocoder settings, but you'll probably have to play with it a bit to set it to your taste and help the intelligibility. Switching band 9 and 10 to hiss and playing with the resonance control will help the consonants pop out more and bring clarity to the words. And best of all, you can patch any polysynth or any audio source really in the carrier input of the patch bay, effectively bypassing the internal carrier and turning Spectravox into a polyphonic vocoder. Here, I'm using a stock synth in my DAW, for instance. Another cool thing you can do is patch a rhythmic source in the program input of the patch bay to trigger the vocoder to create cool rhythmic chord progressions and melodic drum patterns. This is where exploration really begins with Spectravox, as any audio source you might find yourself using will reveal a new aspect of the Spectral processor, and integrating it into a larger modular setup will expand the possibilities to infinity and beyond. And with this, we come to the end of this brief overview of Spectravox, and I have to say, I am very impressed with what Moog did with this new synth and Spectral processor. It's so much fun to use, and it opens the door to so many possibilities as far as sound exploration goes. Of course, both the beauty and tragedy of a short video like this is that I can only scratch the surface, but I hope this video made you want to get your hands on one and go on your own sonic adventures with Spectravox. Questions? Comments? Let us know in the comments below. In the meantime, this was Gabe with B&H, and I'll see you next time.